WZRD Chicago, 88.3 FM, The Wizard, Chicago's home for freeform since 1974. We've got on the line the great Mike Keneally. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay, Megan?
I can hear you great. How are
That's
things?
fantastic. What's that? Sorry.
Oh, how are things? Where are you at? It looks like you're in the
Right now we are on the road to Cleveland and just got stopped in some traffic, so we're waiting to see how that's going to impact our arrival at the venue.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you're on tour currently right now.
Uh-huh. We this tonight is the it's just a short tour. Tonight is the fourth of six shows, and the show in Chicago on Saturday is the last date of the tour. So you get to see us when we putatively know what we're doing.
That's my favorite. Whenever I see a tour, I'm not always happy when the tour starts with us. I'm always happy when it ends with us. I don't care, but
Yeah,
I'm always like, they're gonna
although
be.
if you catch a date on the first date of somebody's tour, you'll usually hear some different material because they'll eventually start cutting songs that aren't working.
That's true too, actually. That's a good way to look at it. You'll get the big rapport, and then by the end, they may switch it out. Oh, I
Uh-huh.
love that. Tell me about Beer for Dolphins. What's that name about?
Oh, well, that came from a long time ago, 31 years ago, when I was making my second record, and there's a medley of songs on there, and the first piece is called "Them Dolphins Is Smart," and then there's a middle movement called 1988 was a million years ago, which was sort of a Zappa uh, reference, and then the final movement is called "Yep, Them Dolphins Is Smart, all right." So that's a lot of words. So when we were getting ready to record this thing, our drummer at the time, Toss, said, "Do we need beer before we record Dolphins?" Because we would just call the medley Dolphins for short. And I said, "Of course we need beer for Dolphins." And it just struck us all that beer for Dolphins was a striking phrase. And then Doug, our bassist at the time, Doug One, and noticed that the initials were BFD. At that point, it seemed clear that this was meant to be.
Ah, that's amazing. 31 years in the making. Beer for Dolphins is playing their final
I
show of this tour at Reggies. You'll be back at Reggies. I'm guessing you've played at Reggies before.
think this is going to be like my sixth time there. I played at a couple of Oktoberfests and done a few shows, and it's I always love returning there. But, that's it's become one of the home away from home type places. So I'll be
Uh,
very happy to be back.
I love Reggies. I knew you had to have played there before because they get a lot of the great progressive rock stuff in there, and it's just a good
Yeah.
home for definitely people who have played with Zappa and Satriani and Vi, which is you. So you check all the boxes. Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
Reggie's is definitely, it's it's like an oasis there. It really helps when trying to put a tour together to know that there's a room in Chicago that is friendly towards this kind of music. So it's very nice to know that it's there.
Yes, that's really, really true. You were playing on Saturday, which is the 18th, and that'll
Uh-huh.
be at the Banana Shack or the comedy club venue upstairs because there's all these different venues at Reggie's, which I love. Like you said, an
Yeah,
oasis, you know?
the last time I played Reggie's was in that room, and it was the first time I'd been in that room because it's pretty recent addition having that room be a concert venue, and I really like that room. It's actually a great feeling in there. Um, it's like a nice place for a party basically. It's like a
Yeah,
good place for a happening. And it kind of feels like the audience is the audience is always a part of the show, but in that space they're really a part of the show, and it's great. Fun.
that's a good point. It's very intimate in that room. I think I caught the Levin brothers, Tony Levin and his brother doing like a jazz thing there. And it just felt like
Yeah,
what? Like you're this close to the artist and they want to communicate and hang out. And yeah, so I'm glad that you're playing that room. And that's the 18th. Everybody stay tuned after this interview because we'll give away a pair of tickets to that awesome show.
Groovy. That's cool.
Yeah. Tell us what to expect. Like who's playing with you, how many people on stage.
The uh the majority of the show, say the first hour or so, is the core quartet that I've been playing with for a long time, and that's Brian Beller on bass, Rick Musalem on guitar, Joe Travers on drums, and so we do the first part of our set that way. But we've also got our fantastic touring artists that are opening for us. The night starts with an acoustic set from Matt Dorsey, and then a duo set from Dave Bainbridge and Sally Minier. And then when we get into our show, Dave and Sally join us for the last half hour so that we're able to do some more elaborate material that we're not able to do as just a quartet. Uh, Stuff that involves more instrumentation and definitely a lot more vocals. So we become a six piece for the last part of the show, and then on the last song, Matt Dorsey comes up and joins us, and we become a raging seven piece band by the end of the whole thing.
Ooh, I love a good raging seven piece. That's amazing. Who is Dave Bainbridge and Sally Minier? How do you know them and how do they become part of this?
I had the first time I heard them as a duo act was at last year's Frogstock Festival in New Jersey, where we just played a few days ago. And Dave is a multi-instrumentalist who plays with a lot of bands. Last year, I opened for his band Life Signs as a solo act, and and he and Sally is also a multi-instrumentalist and vocalist, and they have this incredible duo act. The material is just beautiful, and they perform it beautifully. It's just it's moving. They're really really good. And as I was watching them last year, I could not shake this idea that it would be fabulous to tour with them and have them come up and enhance our ranks for the last part of our set. And unfortunately, they were very receptive to the idea. We are doing it now in real time.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, it says that Dave Bainbridge joins forces with Lord of the Dance vocalist Sally Minier. So she has some Lord of the Dance background as well.
Uh-huh.
Very
Yeah, there's
cool.
that between them. There's definitely pedigrees going on. They've done a lot. And Matt Dorsey, I was in a band with a couple years ago. He was bass player in a band called Project that I'm in, and
Okay.
uh, and but on so I got to know him as a bass player playing all this ferocious stuff, and then on this tour he's doing his own material just on acoustic guitar and vocal, and it's very powerful, very strong and intimate, wonderful songs. Very different from what I might have expected when I first heard him play. So he's a versatile, extremely powerful musician and vocalist. So people should definitely come out and check the whole night of music. It's a lot of stuff and it's all good.
It sounds like anything that you're putting together or curating is going to be good, and you're wanting people to come out and see good music, of course. So, 7 p.m. door, 7:30 show. So get there early to see all these acts is probably a good
Yeah,
suggestion to the people. Yeah.
yeah. You definitely want to check out the whole night. It's sort of a narrative arc to the whole thing that is tied up with a neat little bow at the end of the night when we all perform together. So
I
you don't want to
love
miss anything.
No,
It'd be like getting to a movie late.
right. You don't want to be late. You can skip the previews if you need to get there at 7:29, that's fine, but get there by 7:30.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You don't have to be there for all the trailers.
Right, right, right. Oh, I love that. So I've been listening to a lot of John Lennon and Beatles because it was his 85th, posthumous birthday recently. I know yours.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? 85
Yes. Yeah.
means 45 years he's been gone, which is insane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is.
I don't know, but I know that you loved the Beatles obsessively as a kid, and that was like a big thing for you to kind of understand and love the Beatles. Was it your sister that kind of got you into them and kind of showed you the way?
Yeah. Well, I was the the fortunate beneficiary of her having suddenly deciding that she was done with the Beatles because This is the 60s. I was born in 61, and my sister Barbara was like 16 right at the height of Beatlemania. So she was the target demographic, and she loved all the early stuff. But then just at the point where they were starting to become too quote weird unquote, she decided that I don't know if she thought that they had betrayed her in some way, but not only did she stop listening to them, but she wanted to like just expunge all of the Beatles albums and memorabilia from her possession. So she gave them all to me because at age 4 or something I was already exhibiting signs of being completely obsessed with the band. And I was just more fascinated the weirder that they got. And so she didn't even own Sergeant Pepper. That was like a step too far. But uh, I went out and got it. That was the first album I bought when I was like 6 or 7. And
Whoa.
yeah, I was just deep. It was it was magic. The sound they made was just magic. Um, Nothing else could ever compare. And I couldn't even understand why I was so hungry for it, but I was obsessed. And then, that was it for several years. And then uh, my parents bought me an organ for my 7th birthday, and I started getting way into records that had keyboards on them. And
Mhm.
then I heard Tarkus by Emerson, Lake and Palmer on the radio when I was 9. And that just blew me away because I didn't know that music like that even existed, much less that you were allowed to play it on an organ. Because all the songs I was being assigned in my organ lessons were far more tame than that. So that opened my eyes up. And then not long after that is when I heard Frank Zappa for the first time, and that just blew the doors open. Life became steadily more weird at that point.
It embraced the weird. It was okay to
Yeah,
be
exactly.
weird, right? Do you
Well,
remember
then
the
with Zappa, it was a kid across the street who just knew that I was like ready for it. What he said was, "You're weird. You need to hear this." And then, and then he brought me over to listen to "Help I'm a Rock," and he was right. I
Whoa,
did need to hear
I think you'd
it.
like this. Yeah, you're different.
Yeah, you're weird. You need to hear this.
You love it. Oh, that's amazing. So that was the first time. That was your first exposure. Was that kid across the street telling you to come by and listen?
Well, my literal first exposure to Zappa was a poster in a record store that scared me. Um, I just thought that he was a scary looking guy. So
Yeah.
for my first awareness of was just as an image that frightened me. And then I heard that the version of the Mothers that he had at the time, which is the band with Flo and Eddie. They were on the Dick Cavett show, and they did Sofa. And I remember being surprised that a band that looked so scary and ugly could play such a pretty piece of music, because Sofa is this really melodic waltz. And so that was mind opening. That the whole can't judge a book by its cover thing. These people looked so freaky, and then when they played, I thought it was so pretty sounding. So that was the first Zappa music I ever heard. Then later I heard "Help I'm a Rock," and that was more like what I thought when I
Yeah.
saw the picture, what he sounded like, and I was just ready for it. And then it all just flourished from there.
That's great. I similarly felt the same way. A lot of my older, not older friends, but my guy friends in high school were talking about Zappa, and it's like, this is weird. Like, is this for women? Like, I remember being like, is this okay? And then slowly I started to like enjoy the fun of it and then be like, this is so melodic and, complicated and cool. I've never heard music like this before.
Yeah.
Um, Really, really cool. And I'm thinking that we saw the same poster. I saw one in a bathroom of him sitting on a toilet. Is that the same image you saw?
I saw another shot from the same session, I think, because it was a
Wow.
different angle from the well-known one. But yeah, it
Okay.
was.
I was like, wait, what is this? I now to this day have a t-shirt. I don't wear it out much because, I babysit, so that'd be odd. But man, what a weird image of this guy sitting on the commode and just, doing
Hmm.
his thing. And you're like, who is this guy? And then,
Yeah.
years later, then, what, you were 25 years old, you decided to reach out. Tell us how you got involved with Zappa then.
Yeah, that was just that was an act of desperation from having called the Zappa hotline. There was a 818 Pumpkin was the telephone hotline back then.
Yes.
And I would, I was a freak. I was such a big Zappa fan, and I was constantly calling this number to see if there was any new news about anything. Was At that point he was doing a lot of television appearances and still putting out albums. But after the 1984 tour that he did, he swore he was never going to tour again because he was losing so much money on the road because they would rehearse so much. He'd rehearse for 4 months prior to a 4 month tour and eat up all potential profits before the tour even started. Um, but he changed his mind. So in late 1987, I called that phone number and I heard on the message uh, that it said the rumors are true, and I didn't even know that there were any rumors. These didn't spread as quickly back in the late 80s.
Yeah, right.
Um, but it said, for those of you who've heard the rumors, they're true. Frank is in rehearsal with a new band, and that was very exciting. But my first thought was, oh, good, I get to see another tour. And then, for some reason, a voice inside my head told me to get more ambitious with it and offer my services, even though he had no idea who I was. I had no professional experience as a musician at all. The only gigs that I had done were like cover band gigs in bars in San Diego where I was living. But I knew his music. I had learned a lot of it. I was familiar with all of it because I listened to it all the time, and I could play it on guitar. I could play it on keyboard. So the next day, I called the office. It was Frank's office, the same phone number, but earlier in the day, so it would be a human answering and not just a voicemail message. And I talked to a guy who worked at the office named Jerry Fialka, and it's because of him that that this all happened because he believed me and passed the message on. He basically told Frank, "Oh well, here's this guy. He says he knows his music. He knows your music, and he can play it on guitar and keyboard, and he sings." So what I subsequently found out was that uh, there was a guy in the band who played keyboards that Frank had fired that week, and there was another guy in the band who played guitar and sang who had left town unexpectedly. So at the very moment that Frank was down a keyboardist, guitarist, and vocalist, that was when I called claiming that I could do all those things. And so
Ah,
Frank called me up the next day and said, "You know all my music?" And I said, "Well, I'm familiar with all of it." And he said, "You know how many songs that is?" And I said, "Yep, they're all in the next room. They're right over there." And he said, "I don't believe you. Get your ass over here and prove it." And that's what happened. My brother drove me from San Diego to LA while I practiced every Zappa song I could think of in the back of the car, and then I was like panicking because I'm thinking I have to practice every single Frank Zappa song in a 2.5 hour car ride, which is not possible.
yeah.
And my brother calmed me. Uh, he pulled off the freeway. I remember this clearly. Pulled off the freeway so that he could turn around and look me in the eyes without endangering us. And he said, "You'll never be more ready for this gig than you are right now." And that had an immediate calming uh, effect on me because he was right, and I just chilled out for the rest of the drive, and then I was relaxed enough because I was playing guitar in the car to just walk into the audition with the guitar in my hand, and the first thing Frank said was, "Hey, nice case," and then he told me where to plug in, and he had told me a couple of songs on the phone that he wanted me to be able to play for him. One of which I knew, and the other one I didn't. So I had to learn that as fast as I could, and just sort of demonstrate that even if I didn't have a thing mastered, he could name a song, and I could at least have a workable version ready for him pretty quickly. So then after I had run that stuff for him, he just started naming songs to check my supposed knowledge of the repertoire, and uh, and then he just started like having fun with it. And once he realized that I did like have a Zappa jukebox in my head and
Yeah.
could play along with it, he just started naming songs, and and he wanted us to harmonize together, so we sang together, and I was still pretty nervous at this point.
Yeah.
So he said, well, our voices blend well, but the only thing I'm concerned about is that your voice has this like constant tremolo thing. This, and I said, it's not always there. Don't worry. This
That's
is a
just part of my
yeah,
nervousness, right?
this is a special case, right? But it all went well, and the only thing that didn't go well was when he put I'm not a great sight reader. He put a very complicated chart out for guitar for me to try to play, and this was after the audition had already gone pretty well for 15 or 20 minutes, and then he put out this chart, and I like these chord names have about 7 characters each, and I'm trying to parse what am I supposed to be playing here. I didn't even get through one bar. He
Oh my God.
snatched the chart away. Well, that's a fail.
Ah,
And then
wow.
he said, I said, okay, sit at this keyboard. I want to test your reading on keys. So I sat at just to make it even more exciting. He wanted me to play a piano patch on a Yamaha BX7. If anybody out there knows how exciting that is. Um, and then he put a chart down for a song called Strictly Genteel, uh, which fortunately that one I knew really well from memory. So I was squinting at the chart to make it look as though I was reading, and then I was
Like you
playing
knew
it
what you were
from
doing.
memory,
Yeah.
like I yeah, and yeah. Frank wasn't a sight reader either, so he was like looking at the chart and he's looking at my hands, and his eyes are darting back and forth. And then he goes, wait a second, are you are you reading that, or are you just playing it by ear?" And I said, no, playing it by ear. His eyebrows went up perceptibly, and then he goes, okay. And he shook my hand and said, none of the rest of the band were there at this point. It was just Frank and me and my brother in the room in a soundstage the size of a football field, because it used to be Francis Coppola's Zoetrope Studios soundstage.
Whoa.
Um,
Wow.
so yeah, he shook my hand and said, "Come back on Monday so the rest of the band can witness your particular splendor." And and then just took off from there. Oh, we're moving. The traffic is letting up.
Woohoo!
Cleveland, we're coming.
Cleveland, we're on our way. That's
Which
amazing.
means Chicago, we're coming there too. We
Yes.
won't be stuck here 2 days from now.
It's always worrisome when you're stuck in traffic, but it feels so good when you get to move.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is. It's like finally getting lunch after you've been starving for a few hours.
yes, exactly. Like, oh, thank goodness. Oh, that's a wonderful story. Thank you for recounting it for us.
Oh, you're
The
welcome.
particular splendor. I mean, what a thing for
Yeah,
Frank Zappa to say to you, right?
yeah, it was a moment. Like I promise you that was exactly what he said.
I believe it. I don't, yeah. I mean, you were honest with it when you said, yeah, I'm doing it by
Oh,
feel.
there was no hope of me, slipping anything by him, and no desire to do so. But
Yeah. I was gonna say,
basically what it came down to is that I was a helpful resource for him in the band to be able to bring old songs back into the repertoire. There was stuff that he might not have played for a long time that that he could rely on me to at least bring a working knowledge to the rest of the band, and he could build an arrangement around that. Like at one rehearsal, he says, "I haven't played this. I'd like to play Who Needs the Peace Corps," which is a song from 1968. And he goes,
oh
"I haven't
yeah,
played that song in
absolutely.
a long time." And then he turns and just looks at me and waits for me to start playing it. So he called me the walking encyclopedia. It was funny. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm guessing you knew
Also
it
the
and you were
puppy,
able to.
because that was my first tour and I didn't know anything about anything in the world.
Oh, that's cute. So you were also the puppy.
I was the puppy.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty young at 25, and what an ambitious thing to do. And you said you just followed a little voice in your head that told you go for it, right?
All
Like,
of Yeah, because why not?
yeah,
I had slightly more chance of getting the job if I called him than if I didn't. So I thought I'd make
100%.
the call.
Yeah. Do you live your life that way still, where it's like go for the things that scare you and see what happens, or
Well, I would say for the most part, yeah. It's not like a life rule,
yeah,
but I don't shy away from stuff if I think that it's the right thing to do.
Right.
um, or at least the right thing to attempt to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
go ahead.
no, that's okay. But it is weird to think that, it's because I thought that that was a good phone call to make. That everything that's happened since in my career, including being stuck in traffic right now, was a result of that call.
It is funny to go like all of this wouldn't have been what it is now if I
Yeah,
didn't do that simple little thing. And thank goodness he had some sort of connection with the hotline to be able to get in touch with them because there was no internet back then and there was no way to communicate with people like that unless you knew somebody. So
yeah. That was literally like the late '80s equivalent of Zappa.com was
sure.
the hotline phone number, and it's not every. I mean, it was fairly um, groundbreaking, but unusual territory for Frank to decide to have an information hotline like that, because it was the only way that Zappa fans could reliably get information about his activities, and it was really glad it was there.
Yeah,
I'm
I
grateful
like
for that service.
I am too. I'm super grateful. I mean, to know that that was an option, and then I love the rumors are true, and you're like, I didn't even know there were rumors, but that's how you start the rumors, telling people there's rumors, you know. So
That's right.
that's
That
beautiful.
in itself is savvy marketing.
Yeah, that's savvy, Mark. He knew what he was doing in those respects. His people, and then the whole crew.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and the idea of, like you said, like it's not a way you live by to just go and jump in things, but you take these risks, right? I feel like Steve Vai said something about you that you have a very can-do attitude, that you'll do whatever it is that you can. You'll play the music as proficient as
Well,
you
I mean,
can and have fun with it.
I mean, I don't even think of that as risky. I just think of it as doing what you got to do to cut the gig, you know? If these people are hiring me to play their stuff, uh, I'm, I definitely am gonna do whatever I'm able to do to deliver it properly. We are now traveling fully at the speed limit,
No way. Speed limit? Now that's some cool stuff.
which also means that you are competing with road noise. But
Oh, no
and
worries. I can't hear.
I've got your voice beamed directly into my hearing aids
Ooh,
via Bluetooth.
hope I'm not too loud for you. It actually sounds better now that you're moving. It's funny how
No,
that.
but
Uh, Can you hear me? Oh yeah, here we go. I'm looking at
well,
Mike Keneally.
now I'm just plugging my ear like Gary Owens. I'm laughing because it helps me hear you better.
Yes, absolutely. I'm looking at Keneally.com, which is where you can find everything you want to know about Mike Keneally. And I'm looking at the tour. So Prague Stock Festival is how this all started just last week.
Yeah. Hmm. And then we
And
had 2 nights ago in New York City, and last night in Anvil, PA, at the Allen Theater.
great.
Tonight is Beachland Tavern in Cleveland. Tomorrow we're at Sweetwater in Fort Wayne, and then Saturday we are at Reggies. And right now we're stopped in traffic again.
I know you say it too soon. You're like, dang it. Come
I
on.
know I should know better. If there's one rule about traffic, it's never gloat.
It's true. Oh gosh, I know. As soon as you say it, it's like, nope, nope. It's like saying it's gonna be an easy night at work. As soon as you say that, it's gonna be a hard night. I
Uh-huh.
get in
Uh-huh.
trouble for that a lot. Um,
Yep,
I'm looking at
I
your
should know better.
influences. I'm looking at things like The Residents and Radiohead, in addition to things
Oh
like the.
yeah.
Tell me about those two bands. They both start with R, so I chose them, and I like both of them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, attention getting. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, at a certain point in the '70s, it was like I was listening to a lot of prog. I was listening to Yes incessantly. I was listening to Gentle Giant incessantly. I was listening to Genesis, and I just started wanting to hear more and more really adventurous stuff. And through the Zappa connection, I started listening to Beefheart,
mm,
which is very eccentric, and then listening to Henry Cow and this whole range of rock in opposition type bands. And at some point, I started reading a lot about the Residents, and I hadn't heard a note of their music, but just from reading what people were saying about them was enough to get me intrigued to at least get a couple of records. So I think the first two that I got were uh, Eskimo and Duck Stab, which are two
Yeah.
very different poems. One's like a tone poem about just native stories and things, and then Duck Stab is all like the Residents' version of pop songs, like the weird little 2 minute, super weird sound bites. And that's when I started getting really into just the idea of sound as a thing that could be crafted in a really specific way, and textures and timbres that carry a message beyond just what the notes are, and how these weird sounds can just make you feel to hear them. Uh, that just became fascinating for me. So that was inspirational. And there are moments on some of my records, some of the stranger records, like Stambot one, has some moments of just sort of manipulation of sounds and stuff, which is highly influenced by the Residents. And then Radiohead, I just that was just something that took over my life. And when OK Computer came out, I became obsessed with that record in a way that I hadn't become obsessed with a band in a really long time. Like the Beatles and XTC were another band in the 80s that I became obsessed with. And then there was a long stretch where there wasn't anything that just like totally kidnapped my mind in the way that OK Computer did. And then it was just like, because I was approaching 40 years old at that point, and I became like a kid, wanting to collect all the B sides and standing in line to buy concert tickets and seeing multiple shows on a tour and stuff like that. And it really got to me. They're a band that people either respond to viscerally, emotionally, or they just hear it as a bunch of whining and can't understand it at all. I
Yeah,
don't think there's much midway between those two viewpoints, but it just it killed me from the get go. Love that stuff.
that's awesome. Thanks for expanding on that. It's nice to hear about other bands that influence you. And, OK Computer was definitely something that pushed a lot of people to hear things they've never heard before like that. And I'm glad it stunned you and made you feel like a kid again. That's a beautiful thing. It'll be, I think, 30 years coming up in 2027, and since that record's been dropped,
Yep,
insane.
yep. And I guess another thing that was really just very appealing to me from a musician standpoint is that I heard that record, OK Computer, and it seemed so expertly crafted and almost like pieced together in a way that was hyper real. But then seeing them live and realizing, no, that's just the way they sound. That's just, when they play those songs live, it sounds the same as it does on the record. Maybe there's a little extra Nigel Godrich, audio goop on the record, just the way they play and the way they orchestrate their three guitars, so that each has a very distinct character in the arrangement. Is that was super inspiring to me.
That's amazing. That's true. I forget it's three guitars. You're right. And there's bands you go see that
Yeah.
maybe don't sound exactly like the record, and you get bummed out, or you're like, oh, this is different, But you're right. Radiohead really does pretty much sound like they sound on record. Have you ever covered a Radiohead or a Resonance song?
Uh, Never the Residents. For some reason, it feels like sacred texts that I'm
Yeah,
not allowed to
can't
touch.
touch.
But
Yeah.
uh, but radio that I keep uh, played 8, 9 different Radiohead songs live over the years, even though I don't have precisely the range that Tom York had, especially in the earlier days. And so it was always a bit of a fool's mission to sing with that stuff. But my
Yeah.
wife always says you should never cover songs that you love. But wow,
True.
I feel that she actually makes a good point because sometimes your enthusiasm about a song makes you feel like I need to put my stamp on this or I need to share this song with the world. But you're never going to measure up to what happened the first time. But nonetheless, sometimes I can't help it. So,
Yeah.
and actually, Brian Beller, who's playing bass in the band with me, he and I did a bunch of acoustic duo touring in the early 2000s. We were touring for Taylor Guitars, and
Cool.
we would just go to music stores and big clinics, and they would be like maybe 5% clinic, and the rest of the time we would just be playing songs. And on Bandcamp this year, I put out 3 volumes of archival recordings that we were making at the time of those shows. And I've got the Paranoid Android and 2 + 2 = 5 on one of those volumes.
Oh,
The name of
cool.
that series is Freaks in a Mellow Mood. So if people go to that Mike Keneally Bandcamp page and look for, I think, Freaks in a Mellow Mood Volume 3, you will hear 2 Radiohead covers from me, Brian.
Look at that. Look at that. That's great. I'm glad I asked. Thank you for sharing. Are you somebody who goes and sees live music still, or do you it's not as
Not
easy?
as much, especially since 3 years ago I moved to a very remote area in the mountains of northeast Arizona, and
Oh,
we're like 3 miles away from any venue that's on anybody's circuit. So it really has cut into my uh, recreational concert going a whole lot. But I
oh
would
yeah.
say even when I was living in Southern California previously to that, and I would say that over the last 10, 15 years, I haven't gone to as many shows as I did when I was younger,
Yeah.
um, which is unfortunate because obviously here I am trying to encourage people to come see our band live, and live music is still uh, an experience unlike any other. But I guess it's just because I perform so many shows that when
Right.
I'm not actually required professionally to be in a concert venue, there's a part of me that really likes my house.
Right. I know. You start to realize like, oh man, it's nice to be home when you're touring and you're out and
Yeah,
yeah, I asked that because I saw Eskimo like residents are going to do the Eskimo tour. I don't know if you
I
saw
did
that.
notice that, and believe me, if I was in a place where it was feasible to get to the show, I would very much like to see that. Or
Yeah.
I have friends. A few days ago, Adam Holtzman, who plays keyboard. No, it was Randy McStein, who plays guitar for Steven Wilson.
Mm.
Uh, was like, well, maybe it was Adam. I can't remember. But some friend of mine who's in Steven Wilson's band said, "Are you going to be around? We should come to the show." And, I was out here doing this. So
Yeah,
often that happens that a show that I would have loved to have seen is just not feasible because I'm busy doing something else.
of
That
course.
happened with the Beat tour also with Steve Vai and
Oh,
Adrian Ballou and Tony Levin and Danny Carey playing King Crimson last year. There were a couple of shows that if I'd been willing to drive 3 hours, which I would have been, uh, I could have seen them, but I was never available to do it. So I miss a lot.
yeah, but it's nice to be in a remote, quiet area. If you like your home, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm hoping that Beat Tour
It is,
comes
and,
back.
it's just as life gets settled more insane, I kind of feel I'm not up, off the grid up there. We're only 20 minutes from anything that we need to survive,
Yeah,
but it feels off the grid. It feels remote, which is a comfort in the modern age.
huge. Absolutely. Coming from Chicago, I'm like, I wonder what that's like. Maybe later in my life
Yeah,
I'll
I know.
I love
I
it.
can't.
Well, we're super
I'm
excited
not
for
even
you to
gonna go there.
Oh yeah. Well, we're super excited for you to come to Chicago again to end your tour with us. I love that. Everybody, you're listening to WZRD
I'm very
Chicago.
happy to be coming back there too.
We're super happy to have you. Yeah, it's great. I mean, like you said in the beginning about Reggie's, it's got just a good feel. It's the right place for the music that you're playing, and people are gonna really enjoy it, I think, and be able to feel like you're interacting because it's a very intimate space. It's a really cool spot up there, and it's new. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely all be in it together that night.
Yes, indeed. A little particular splendor here. We're doing it with Mike Keneally. Thank you so much for taking time during your road trip to sit with us at WZRD. And if you're ever in Chicago, we'd love to have you in our space. We've got 51 years of history here.
Uh,
You can come sign the walls and check out our collection. You can obviously see the records behind me. It's
I
a cool
do,
spot.
and yeah, I would absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, you cut out. Say that again if you're still with us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think we're now that we're going in and out of reception zone. I
Of
would
course.
love to come to the reception today if I'm able to.
Please. Yeah, anytime you're welcome here. And I know we've got resin stuff on vinyl. I'm pretty sure they played in here. We've had some really cool. We started as a punk rock station, so a lot of progressive rock, a lot of prog. We started in '74, so we'd love to have you, Mike.
If I am able to come to the station someday, can I get an hour to play whatever I want?
100%. You don't even have to ask, can you?
Ooh,
You can
okay,
come here and just peruse the records and be a guest DJ. We'd love that.
amazing. Okay, but we got to do this sometime.
Yes, take me up on it. Keep my number. We'll definitely love to have you. So keep that in
That's
mind.
great.
Yeah, thank you
Thank you.
for spending time with us, Mike. I hope tonight goes really well, tomorrow, and then we'll see you Saturday for a really nice tour ender.
Very cool. Thank you for having me, Megan. I really appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. Super glad to have
Cool.
you on the show. Means a lot to us. Thank you so
Oh,
much, Mike. Have a wonderful day.
thanks, you
Stay safe.
too.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. It's WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. The